Welcome to the first video in your National History Day video series. This one is video number 1 and it's entitled Searching. I wanted to make this video to give you a little bit of information about how we expect you to search for sources on the internet. Some of you are very used to searching in Google for things, and some of you are a little newer at it. And those of you who are used to it may have learned some bad habits. So we wanted to make sure to give you some tips and let you know what we're expecting when you're doing your searching. There's a couple of topics we're going to cover in this video. First of all, how to create good search terms. We're going to go over the difference between Google as a source and using Google to find sources. I'm going to talk about how to search within a site and how to tell which types of sites are better to use than others. So towards this purpose, Mr. Jones and I have chose a topic of our own to search for and to research for this project. And we have chosen to talk about the first atomic bomb, the development of the first atomic bomb. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look for information about it generally. So I might search right off the bat, atomic bomb. And right away, there's a lot of things that pop up. There's videos that come up. There's this section that says people also ask for other questions. And then it starts to go into the sources that they think are most related to my search. So I think this history.com one is good, so I'm going to click on it. History.com is a source that many of you will use for your research. It is a reliable source. They do a lot of research about history, and they also have editors who make sure that the information is correct. So History.com editors are the ones who work on this. Now, this article is going to be a long one because it's the entire history of the atomic bomb. But if your topic is something that's new to you, it's a good idea for you to read an overview of your topic anyway, so that you can talk about everything that's involved with it, and maybe narrow your topic even a little bit more. So I'm going to go to the top of this article and read about the development, like the beginning of the atomic bomb. So the atomic bomb and nuclear bombs are powerful weapons. They first developed them during World War II. They've been used only twice. Okay. Also, if you'll notice, this has like a table of contents here. So if I knew that I really wanted to learn about 3 Mile Island or the Cuban Missile Crisis, I could click on this and it would take me to that section. So please keep in mind that there are some good tools on these websites that you can use to minimize the number of the amount of time you have to spend there. Okay, so a discovery by nuclear physicists in a laboratory in Berlin, Germany in 1938 made the first atomic bomb possible. Okay, so these 3 scientists discovered something called nuclear fission, which made the atomic bomb possible. Okay, so one thing that I might do if I wanted to know more is I could use any of these names as an additional search term. So please keep in mind that as you're reading about your topic, some of the other things that you see in those articles you can use as a search term. I'm not going to do that right now, but I could use any of these 3 names as another search term. I could also search for nuclear fission. Let's see. Okay, so this is really, I think, where I want to focus my project, because I'm interested in the atomic bomb in the world, but I'm more interested in sort of how it came to the United States and sort of what barrier was broken that allowed the United States or made the United States think that using the bomb in war was a good idea. So the Manhattan Project is probably what I'm going to focus on. It was the code name, like the secret code name for the American-led effort to develop a functional atomic bomb. So nuclear fission was an important step, but developing the actual bomb that we could use was done by the Manhattan Project, and it happened during World War II. And it started because we were afraid that German scientists had already done it, or at least were in the process. President Roosevelt authorized the project. A lot of the work was done in New Mexico, and the person who was in charge of it was named Robert Oppenheimer. The first test or successful detonation, the Trinity test, was in 1945. Okay, so a lot of what's here is going to be some of my initial information. In this section, I could search for the Manhattan Project. I could search for, well, I could look at Dr. Oppenheimer. I could look at Los Alamos, New Mexico. I could study the Trinity test. So in this section, I can find 4 more search terms that I could use. If you can remember them, fantastic. If you want to write them down, no problem. As I'm going, if I decide, obviously this one also has a link, but maybe I don't want to go to that and take myself away from the atomic bomb one. So what I might do is I might click on, where did it go? I might click, like right click on the Manhattan Project and do open link in new tab, so I have it open later. Also, let's say I decided I wanted to look into Los Alamos, New Mexico. I could copy that, I could open a new tab, and I could put that in there and search for Los Alamos, New Mexico. Specifically, I'm looking up for their labs, so maybe I might just change it to, oh, there, atomic bomb. Okay, Los Alamos, New Mexico, atomic bomb. So there's my Atomic Heritage Foundation. So I'll open that one. Let's see, I'll go back to my initial one. Oh, and Robert Oppenheimer. So I can open that in the new tab as well. So then I have not only this information that I just read, but I can go to the information about Dr. Oppenheimer, and I have it all open and ready to go when I'm ready to move on to the next page. Once I've gotten all the information off the page I'm on, I have these other ones that I'm ready to go to. So we talked about search terms. Let's talk about how Google is not a source, but we use Google to find sources. So a lot of people, when they do a search, they will find a source, like say this one, and they'll say, oh, well, Google was my source. Google is not your source. This right here, this link, this is your source. History.com is your source. This one here, the Britannica Encyclopedia, is the source. This one comes from Wikipedia. So does this one. This one comes from Khan Academy. This one comes from Al Jazeera, which is a periodical that is popular in more of the Arab-speaking world. This one's from Forbes.com, which is a magazine. This is from CNN. So Google is not your source. These are sources that Google is helping you find. Also, the same thing goes for images. If you were to use, say, this history.com image in your project, it does not come from Google, it comes from history.com. This image comes from Time magazine. These other ones come from Wikipedia. This one comes from Forbes, which is that magazine. This one comes from the Smithsonian magazine. So underneath here, that's where it actually comes from. That's where these pictures are from. These pictures are not from Google. So when you cite your sources, please don't say that you got them from Google, because that is incorrect. How to search within a site. So let's say I'm in this Manhattan Project and I want to know about Robert Oppenheimer. I can do Command F, or on the Chromebooks, Control F is probably a better one, and a little box will pop up here, and you can type in Oppenheimer, and it will show that there's one of 5 of these. Here you can see it. There's 5 mentions of his name in this source, and then I can click down and see all of the places where he was mentioned. So if you go to something like this article and there's a lot of information, but you know you're specifically looking for information about Oppenheimer, Control F, and then I can search for him. And then I don't have to read everything. I can go to where it says his name and read just around there and get everything that I need, hopefully, the information that I'm looking for. So those search terms are important in Google, but also in this place where you can search within the source. And lastly, which types of sources are better? as a general rule, if we are finding things that are .org or .gov, those are usually better. However, biography.com is a pretty solid source, as is history.com, like we talked about. Mrs. Steiner will come in and she'll talk a lot more about sources that she'll help us collect, but you're looking for foundations and government organizations, museums and colleges. Those are the places that we know they don't have an agenda other than to educate you. Sometimes .com sites are not as useful because they're trying to sell you something, or they have a very distinct opinion about a topic and they're trying to convince you. And that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for information that is unbiased and just out there as factual information for you to read and interpret on your own. So hopefully this helps you get started with your searching. If you have any questions, make sure you come and ask your teacher.